This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Friday, the 3rd day of May in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has announced that an advisor to the Minister of Health and former government minister Dr. Leslie Ramzami has been appointed as Guyana's new ambassador to Switzerland, and he will also serve as Guyana's permanent representative at the United Nations in Geneva. Ramzami was appointed to the post of advisor to the Minister of Health just after the change of government in 2020. He previously served in previous PPP civic governments as a Minister of Health and the Minister of Agriculture. The Foreign Affairs Ministry has also confirmed that current CEO of the state-owned Guyana Sugar Corporation, Narayan Singh, to be the new ambassador to Brussels. Singh is expected to take up his appointment soon. He was appointed CEO of Guyana just after the change of government back in 2020, but it has been a rocky time for him and the sugar company, as workers repeatedly complained about his management style and the many problems at the sugar industry. Meanwhile, the Brazilian government has announced that it has accepted Guyana's appointment of economist and former University of Guyana Chancellor Compton Bourne as the new ambassador to Brazil. In a statement, it was explained that throughout his career, Bourne has actively contributed to public economic policy in the Caribbean, Africa, and the Philippines. He authored 10 books and more than 50 academic articles, as well as more than 50 research reports and advisory memoranda for Caribbean governments, foreign governments, and international development institutions. He's also a member of the Order of Excellence, after receiving Guyana's highest national award. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true, or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Love knows no boundaries of time. It transcends the ages, forever etching its mark on our hearts. Super Stylistics, in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport and the Government of Guyana, present Timeless Love, the 31st production of the Mother and Daughter Pageant 2024 at the National Cultural Center, a celebration of a unique family bond and flawless, flamboyant fashion. Glitz, glamour, and grand giveaways for lucky patrons too at the 2024 Mother and Daughter Pageant, National Cultural Center, May 11 from 20 hours, preluded by red carpet. Tickets $6, $5, and $5,000. It's Timeless Love.
The Ministry of Housing and Water Central Housing and Planning Authority is in the process of addressing all applicants with acknowledgement letters dated 2019 and prior. To efficiently and transparently address applicants within this period, we have introduced an online platform. However, allocations will be done based on the availability of house lots in the respective regions. The Ministry will schedule allocation dates for applicants outside of Region 4 in the respective regions. To access this online platform, visit our website hai.chpa.gov.gy and fill out the required fields, then submit by clicking on the Search Housing Application tab. A notification will then pop up on your screen indicating whether your application was found in our database. This will be followed by a pop-up screen with your basic personal information and an option to make changes to your contact number if applicable, or if there is any change in your preference for land or a built housing unit. After that information is submitted, you will be notified immediately that the process was successful with a message saying you will be contacted for an allocation based on availability. If an application is not found, it means your application does not fall within the date, and you can contact the office at 706-5730 for any inquiries. This is a message from the Central Housing and Planning Authority.
Guyana has plunged 17 points on the 2024 World Press Freedom Day Index published by Reporters Without Borders, as the country faces allegations of journalists being intimidated by the authorities. In the 2023 index report, Guyana placed 60 on the index with a total of 180 countries. However, this year the country slid to 77, an indication that press freedom in Guyana has deteriorated. According to the report, while there are legal safeguards for the protection of freedom of speech and the right to information, journalists who oppose the authorities face intimidation. The report said although Guyana, a parliamentary democracy, guarantees freedom of expression and the right to information in its constitution, the laws are not always strictly enforced. Public officials use defamation lawsuits to criticize the media, and the threat of legal harassment can be enough to discourage journalists from pursuing an investigation. In recent years, the report noted, Guyana passed legislation aimed at Muslim reporters who openly oppose the authorities. It pointed out that the legislation includes an anti-defamation law providing for fines and imprisonment for up to 2 years to arrest journalists who oppose their political parties. The international watchdog found that due to the fact that members of the Media Regulatory Authority are directly appointed by the president, the independence of certain media outlets whose license can be revoked is hampered, and often private media are starved of advertising revenues from the government. The report said state-owned and controlled media compete with several private radio stations, channels, and publications. Independent and opposition media outlets struggle to compete with the advertising revenues of pro-government media outlets, which threaten their economic viability. It was also noted too that while there were attempts in 2020 to improve regulation of the broadcast industry, the government failed to involve or consult with any broadcaster to strengthen the reform. However, Reporters Without Borders acknowledge that journalists in Guyana are respected, generally protected, and allowed to do their jobs freely and independently, although there was a recent incident in which a journalist was shot at. It said while journalists are rarely the target of physical acts or violence, television investigative journalist Travis Chase's car was shot at in December. Media professionals have also faced legal intimidation and suspensions. In the Americas, Reporters Without Borders said more than half of the countries in the region have seen a deterioration of press freedom, particularly due to the fall in the political indicator. Guyana joined the rest of the world today in observing World Press Freedom Day. This year's observance was held under the theme, A Press for the Planet, Journalism in the Face of the Environmental Crisis. In a statement, the Guyana Press Association noted that World Press Freedom Day is being observed at a time when the country is facing a prolonged dry spell, which seems to be now abating in a number of regions, an uncontrolled solid waste management crisis to varying degrees in many areas, and dismally poor environmental management of a number of gold mining and coastal sea defense areas. The association said on a larger scale, what is visible is a country where littering and indiscriminate waste disposal is now a national pastime, with the authorities failing dismally to prosecute perpetrators and collect waste in a timely manner. The GPA said the local, regional, and central governments must take collective blame for the state of the country's environmental crisis, noting that the huge Martian-like scars could be seen in Guyana's gold mining areas, where there is no backfilling of mined-out areas. Miners have changed the course of creeks and rivers, and there are huge questions surrounding the actual use of mercury. It was noted that taken together, solid waste and climate phenomena, Guyana is indeed facing an environmental crisis. The GPA said it believes there is a need for the constant and sustained training of a pool of specialized journalists whose task will be to simplify science information to make it palatable and connect it to their daily lives. The Press Association also recommends that the Guyana government, the private sector, and various UN organizations inject resources into special serialized productions on environmental issues that will go beyond the average news story. And at the same time, media workers need to jealously guard against all resources being used to bribe them from covering the real issues or engaging in disinformation. The Press Association also called for an end to manufactured segregation and division in the society as the nation seeks to tackle the environmental crisis.
Purple Arts Productions presents A Treat for My Mother's 7. On Mother's Day, Sunday, May 12, Herbie Marshall and Strings, Barbara Lee, Leona Walton, Ian Nelson, and others. Golden Jewelry for the best dressed mother in purple. 8 p.m. at the National Cultural Center. Tickets $3,000 and $2,500. Compliments NDNS Furniture Store, Noodle Cake Creations, Essential Care Pharmacy, Sunflower Jewelry, a Purple Arts Theater production.
Mobile One is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobile One adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Sol Guyana is the authorized distributor of mobile lubricants.
Let's tell you now that the opposition is pushing for the government to immediately resume the nationwide consultation on revising the Amerindian Act, contending that in the absence of a revamped legislation, the Irfan Ali administration is trampling on the rights of the nation's indigenous people and interfering in their local politics. At a press conference on Thursday, executive member of the opposition People's National Congress Reform, Mervyn Williams, said there is nothing stopping the Minister of Amerindian Affairs, Pauline Sukai, from resuming consultations on the proposed revision of the Amerindian Act, which was advanced under the previous government.
The PPP holds on to the Amerindian Act as is, refusing to consult with the indigenous citizens of Guyana with regard to their demand for its revision. We call on the government to immediately resume the nationwide consultation aimed at revising the Amerindian Act. These consultations, which began under the AP and UAFC, were well advanced. The Minister has in her possession the reports which emanated from that consultation process, and she must act.
According to Mr. Williams, Minister Sukai is using loopholes within the existing legislation to interfere in the elections of indigenous villages. He said there is an active campaign to bar mixed descendants of indigenous Guyanese and Guyanese of other ethnicities from participating in the election of indigenous leaders, although they reside in Amerindian villages. contending that the minister is patently wrong in her pronouncements regarding the ineligibility of non-Amerindians to participate in the village election process. Williams said her observations laid bare the two conflicting provisions of the Amerindian Act.
The conflict arises when it comes to eligibility to hold office in the village. Section 71, 1A through D lists the prerequisites for one to be elected as a councillor. Among those is that one should be an Amerindian of at least 18 years of age. How can one be eligible to elect one's leaders but not be eligible to be elected as a leader? Can you imagine what it would be like if our constitution said that citizens could elect a government, but only one category of citizens can offer themselves as candidates? This is clearly an attempt to exclude persons that the PPP are unable to control.
He also said the conflict in the legislation is causing major discomfort for residents in some villages.
We have received reports that the names of so-called non-Amerindians are being removed from voters' lists in some villages. In many reported cases, persons of other ethnicities living in villages for more than 50 years, married to indigenous spouses, their union producing children and grandchildren, watch on in horror as village councils post voters' lists from which their names have been deleted. This is electoral fraud.
Williams said the approach being used by the current government is causing serious division in a number of Amerindian villages, with many Amerindian people being disenfranchised. Elections in indigenous villages across the country are expected to take place soon. 23-year-old prisoner Shamar Davis was remanded to jail today for the murder of a fellow inmate, Anthony Prince. The murder charge comes 2 months after Anthony Prince was stabbed to death in the Lusignan jail. The murder accused, Shamar Davis, who was on remand for a robbery charge, was not required to enter a plea to the indictable murder charge today. In court, the police prosecutor informed the magistrate that the 2 young men were housed in the same jail cell at the Lusignan jail, and on the 30th of March, the 2 got into a fight in that cell. It was during the fight that it is alleged that David armed himself with an improvised weapon and repeatedly stabbed Anthony Prince, who was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. The accused will make his next court appearance in June.
Purple Arts Productions presents A Treat for My Mother's 7 on Mother's Day, Sunday, May 12. Sean Buller, Bernie Alves, Charmaine Blackman, Ronald Green, and others. Golden Jewelry for the best dressed mother in purple. 8 p.m. at the National Cultural Center. Tickets $3,000 and $2,500. Compliments of Survival Shopping Complex. The Simcoe Trading, Secure Innovations and Concept Inc. A Purple Arts Theatre production, directed by Simone Dowding.
Look at the breathtaking beauty of the Essequibo. From its pristine rivers to its abundant resources, it's a treasure that belongs to Guyana, and we ask Venezuela to respect the rule of international law.
Our commitment to this land is not just about ownership. It's about preserving its beauty and resources for our people and future generations.
The controversy between Guyana and Venezuela was settled internationally as full, perfect, and final in 1899. Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyoil is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyoil's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyoil has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way.
Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Holiday spending put a dent in your cash. Top up your pockets in the Cash Splash promotion. Win over $5 million, including over $1 million in our weekly draws. Just purchase any Buster, Turbo, Fruita, Cool Kids or Viva. Look for the 8-digit code starting with 786. Then visit Facebook or IG at Buster Guyana or Turbo_Caribbean for more details.
Across the region tonight, a hydroelectric dam has collapsed in southern Brazil after days of heavy rains that triggered massive flooding, killing more than 30 people. Officials say another 60 people are missing in Rio Grande do Sul state. About 15,000 residents have fled their homes since Saturday. At least 500,000 people are without power and clean water across the state. The burst dam triggered a 2-meter wave, causing panic and further damage in the already flooded areas. The dam is located between the municipality of Curipuro and the city of Bento Gonçalves. The extreme weather has been caused by a rare combination of hotter than average temperatures, high humidity, and strong winds. The Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has visited the region, promising help from the central government. Loop Caribbean is reporting tonight that St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been commended for achieving certification by the World Health Organization of the dual elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV and syphilis. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment in St. Vincent says the achievement signals to the world that ending pediatric HIV and congenital syphilis through the elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV and syphilis are achievable. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is one of the 11 countries which have been certified from the Caribbean, and a total of 20 in the world. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is the 6th country within the sub-region of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States to achieve elimination, and will be up for revalidation in the next 4 years. And finally tonight, international news. The BBC reports that UK Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron has said it is up to Ukraine to decide how to use British weapons, and insisted it has the right to strike targets on Russian territory. During a visit to Kiev, he said the UK would provide up to $3.7 billion per year for as long as necessary. Russia condemned what it called another very dangerous statement. Lord Cameron did not directly endorse the idea of British weapons being used to strike targets inside Russia, reports the BBC. But until now, the UK has generally let it be understood, without spelling it out, that weapons such as the long-range Storm Shadow missile should only be used inside sovereign Ukrainian territory. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to have a safe and enjoyable holiday weekend.